Of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
It is critical we keep AM radio in all cars and all trucks. Hey, Sean Hannity here. More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio. It is the backbone of the emergency alert system, and that keeps us safe in dangerous times because when cell and internet services are down, AM radio might be your only lifeline. Now text AM to the number 52886. Tell Congress that we need AM radio in our cars. Text AM to 52886 today.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Many of you are aware of Hoopie Insurance Services loyalty and support for local sports and youth leagues. But did you realize the Hoopie commitment to sports includes a turfed indoor practice facility? Tucked away off Stellhorn Road between Maple Crest and Laymeyer is the Hoopie Fieldhouse, a great facility for indoor practices when Mother Nature is having a bad day. With 6,500 square feet of artificial surface, it's perfect for baseball, softball, soccer, and football. For a team, a league, or even a small group, the Hoopie Fieldhouse is available at just $50 an hour. Pitching, fielding, hitting. And it's the ideal spot when you can't take a chance on the weather, like tryouts or pregame prep. Youth football, little leagues, youth soccer. The Hoopie Fieldhouse can be your indoor practice home. Join now at just $50 an hour and get your times booked before it's too late. The Hoopie Fieldhouse, owned and managed by Hoopie Insurance Services. Get info and book times at hoopiefieldhouse.com. That's Hoopie, H-U-P-E, Fieldhouse.com.
Live from the Hoopie Insurance Services Studios, this is WKJG 1380 AM, 100.9 FM, The Fan, Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is a presentation of high school sports on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. The Hoopie Fieldhouse High School Coaches Show. Learn more about the Hoopie Fieldhouse, now available to schedule practice times for your league or team at hoopiefieldhouse.com. Now here's your host, Justin Kenny.
Happy Thursday evening, everybody. Welcome into the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Fieldhouse. I am Justin Kenny here for an entire hour tonight. We'll be talking high school football. Week 2 of the high school football season kicks off tomorrow evening. We'll put a nice fancy bow on week 1 and look ahead to another big night of action throughout Indiana. We'll break it down here over the next about 55 minutes or so. Joining us here in just a second, Dan Vance of OutsideTheHuddle.net. We'll talk about the matchups coming up tomorrow. Also talk about the news that came out today regarding Bishop DeWanger. No longer a 5A, now a 4A for this season. We'll talk about that. 6:15, Alyx Brandewie of the Eastside Blazers, new head coach of Eastside, will join us. His team will take on Adams Central in Butler tomorrow. We'll talk about his team's Week 1 win and how they're prepping for the Flying Jets. Bottom of the hour, Casey Kolkman, head coach of the Heritage Patriots, will join us, and then we'll wrap it up at around 6:45. Kurt Tippmann of the Snider Panthers will join us. The Panthers heading up to Kendallville to take on East Noble tomorrow night. So Lot to get to, and let's kick it off with our buddy from outside the huddle.net, Mr. Dan Vance. Dan, good evening. How we doing? Are you there, Dan? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Oh, you're breaking up in and out. I don't know where you're at. In a bunker?
You're
still breaking up a little bit, but did you take anything out of week one? I mean, anything surprise you coming out of week one? He's silenced, everybody. Are you there, Dan?
All
right. What'd you take out of week one?
The Snider victory over Warren Central, obviously the difference in that score is the big thing to take away. But I think that a lot of things followed suit in week one.
We may have lost him again. We may have lost Dan. We'll keep trying to get Dan back. But I think when you look at the SAC going 2-8 on the night, and people will say, well, the SAC down. But there were some good games in there. There were some really, really interesting games, particularly the one you heard here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM, in terms of Homestead and Carmel. That was a tie game late in the game. And if Homestead doesn't throw a pick six, they could potentially have won that game. You look at just what Homestead did to Warren Central as well, and taking a lot out of that one. And so while it was 2-8 overall, there was some things to like. But Dan, you with us?
I'm with you.
All right, good. I don't know if I am, but you were talking about the 2-8 record of the SAC. Is it indicative of what resulted in week one, or do you think maybe there's some hidden gems in there?
I definitely think there's some hidden gems. I think that, I think they wanted to be more than 2-8, and I think we expected them to be more than 2-8 in the conference. We talked about it last week. You're going to take some knocks with this non-conference schedule, and that's kind of meant to be to build SAC teams up for deeper runs in the postseason with tougher schedules.
We talked about it last week, and then coming into this one too, about Snider, Warren Central, and the challenges. But now Carroll, after really struggling against Hamilton Southeastern, throwing 2 pick sixes, not being able to protect Jimmy Sullivan, and now they have to take a Warren Central team on that really was beat up by Snider and has revenge on their mind. This is a pivotal week for Carroll because they come in the season as the bona fide favorite in the SAC, and already after 1 week, people are jumping ship. So how important is this for Carroll's mindset, and also really to be a direct gauge against Snider with the common opponent of Warren Central?
I think for the mindset, I mean, for me, it has to be strong, and we're going to see what kind of team Carroll is early here, just testing their mettle. They had costly turnovers last week. Their offensive line did not do a great job protecting Jimmy Sullivan. And so can they bounce back from those things? How quickly can they fix the errors? And I think that's the biggest part of what we're going to see with Carroll this week against Warren Central, regardless of the outcome of the game, regardless of the score. If, they win by more than Snider did, can they fix those things in a matter of 6 days? And I think that's the biggest thing we're going to learn about Carroll this week.
All right, let's talk about Bishop Dwenger. Announced today by the IHSAA reclassification from 5A to 4A for this season. People will cry foul going, what's going on? We already started the season. This is what's going on. So you have the success factor that I swear every year it has another layer. Right when I think I understand it, I don't. Is for the 2-year cycle, which began before last season, is Bishop Dwenger was bumped up a class to 5A because of success factor. It was then given the option in small, tiny print in the bylaws of the IHSAA that any team that was bumped up a class could reevaluate it after 1 year, provided they did not score a postseason point, which means they did not win a sectional. Bishop Dwenger did not win a sectional. Bishop Dwenger wanted to be moved back to 4A. IHSAA gave him the runaround for a fair amount of time, and the result is finally after Bishop Dwenger pushed, this was changed. So it seems kind of like shenanigans a little bit, but Bishop Dwenger was in its right to ask for a request to be pushed back down. It's just unfortunate that this is coming out on the eve of week 2. So it's pretty much the IHSAA making something reasonably small into a big deal is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I think that the biggest issue that I see with it, and everyone's going to take their own issue out of it. There's going to be people that say, oh, the private schools are getting whatever they want again. But my biggest issue is the timing of it, and the timing that it affects these sectionals. Obviously, Dwenger moves into 4A sectional 19, Columbia City to 4A control to the 12 now only has 3 teams.
Yeah, that's the big thing with Section 12. We'll talk to Kurt Tippmann about that. Is whoever gets the bye in that 3-team section will have a double bye because 5A and 6A don't play in Week 10. So it sounds like a nice stretch of no games, but that's shaking off the rust significantly to get ready for that sectional championship game. So it doesn't just impact Bishop Dwenger. It impacts a lot of teams' realignment in sectionals and now with just a 3-team sectional in 5A. We're kind of lost Dan there again. We'll try to get him back. But basically, this is what it's coming down to, folks, is Bishop Dwenger was bumped to 5A because of the success factor, okay? That usually lasts 2 seasons. It's 2-year cycles. If you get dropped, if you get bumped, it's 2 years. But the IHSAA put in this bylaw, really tiny print, with an asterisk that said if a team is bumped up after 1 year, if it does not win a sectional or more, so it doesn't garner a postseason point, that school can then ask the IHSAA to be dropped down. Or I think the bylaw said something, the IHSAA will reevaluate that team on whether it stays or not. I think Dwenger was under the impression that they would just automatically drop back down to 4A. And I think the IHSAA was under the impression that Dwenger would just want to stay at 5A. Neither of those were correct. So I really think that there was just a massive miscommunication. Dwenger, from what I understand, continuously tried to get a hold of the IHSAA and was not able to get a bona fide answer. That's why we're sitting in here on August 24th and this being an issue and coming out, because now people are crying foul with private schools and Dwenger's paying people off and they're not very good this year, so they manipulated the system, dropped down to 4A. There's no shenanigans here. This is just something that lasted a heck of a lot longer than it should. Now, you can make the argument that would say, hey, Dwenger has had no problem in the past playing up, and you could say with some of those top teams even 3-5 years ago, Bishop Dwenger would be perfectly fine in 5A. But I think we saw last week that this is a Bishop Dwenger team that is not as good as even 3, 4, 5 years ago with those runs to state and winning regional championships and stuff like that, at least right now. And you look at 5A as compared to 4A and Dwenger, quote unquote, avoiding Snider in that 5A. Now they drop down. But you can make the argument that they're still have some difficult teams that they're going to have to play on in Class 4A in Sectional 19. They're now being placed in. Now, unfortunately, Columbia City now gets to get bumped to Sectional 20 and be put in there with Kokomo, the team that knocked them off last year in the regional and beat Leo last week and currently is a top 5 team in 4A based on the polls. So it's not just impacting Dwenger. And we'll talk to Coach Kurt Tippmann later in the hour from Snider. And I'm sure it's the last thing on his mind, but we'll ask him what is the impact, if anything, today's news does for the Snider Panthers once they get deeper into the season and potentially face a team that either coming off the double bye or if you have the double bye. So a lot to analyze with this, and that's kind of breaking it down what's happened today. Dwenger, once again, going from 5A Sectional 12 down to 4A Sectional 19. We're going to take a break, come back. There's a big game up in Butler tomorrow night. Adams Central, Eastside. Coach Alyx Brandewie will join us from the Eastside Blazers. We'll talk about his team's Week 1 game and the preparations for the Flying Jets. Coming up after this, you're listening to the High School Coaches Show, presented by Hoopie Fieldhouse, here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Applied Innovation. Whether you're looking to increase sales or save money, Applied Innovation has your answer. Listen to Brian Vella, president of United Image Group, a veteran-owned business.
So over 4.5 years that we've been doing it, we have seen our sales more than triple, and the equipment that we put in place has allowed us to take the additional sales and still have our customers experience the same type of customer service that they knew when we were at the start.
Colleen Lowe, director of marketing and admissions at Immaculate Heart of Mary Catholic School, had this to say about Applied Innovation.
They're teaching us how to use the equipment that we have to our benefit and also to save us money. So they are there whenever we need them, and I really mean that.
Applied Innovation, solutions for printing, network support, electronic content management, document destruction, and much more. Call Applied Innovation today and get a team that's there when you need them. 800-521-0983 or visit appliedinnovation.com. Applied Innovation. Fast, friendly, amazing.
Are you ready to pack with power and precision? Packerjack, your local packaging experts. From stretch wrap to banding, tapes to corner boards, and edge protection and PPE, we've got it all to ensure your shipments arrive safe and sound. We offer stretch wrap machines and battery-operated banders for ultimate efficiency and convenience. At Packerjack, we take pride in delivering top-notch quality and exceptional service. Visit us today or online at packerjack.com and experience the difference with the trusted packaging partner right here in the tri-state area. Wrap it up with Packerjack. Packerjack.com.
Hot dog! It's hot out! I guess what they say is true. These really are the dog days of summer. Fred Grody here from Grody Mitsubishi, and I refuse to roll over in this heat. So this month, I'm cooling things down with one hot dog of a sale. That means right now you can save up to $5,000 on a new Mitsubishi you love, based on the price of the car you pick, only during my dog days of summer sale. So if your old ride leaves you feeling like you're barking up the wrong tree, bring it to me, and I'll help you save up to $5,000 on a ride you can shake your tail at.
But, Fred, what if my credit's a little rough?
My For the People credit approval process keeps the banks on a short leash. We work like a dog to make the impossible pause-able.
But hurry!
The dog days of summer won't last long, and neither will this sale. I'm positive you won't regret stopping by. I'm Fred Grody, and I'm a dealer for the people. Visit me between Lake and State on Coliseum. Get pre-approved at GrodyNation.com. That's GrodyNation.com.
Credit requires bank approval. Vehicle purchase price determines actual discount. Offer absolutely expires August 31st, 2023.
This is the Hoopie Fieldhouse High School Coaches Show on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Fieldhouse. I'm Justin Kenny. Here till 7 o'clock, we'll give way to Colts preseason football. Indianapolis finishing up their preseason slate tonight against Philly. Anthony Richardson getting the start. How long does he play? We'll find out. Tonight, coverage begins again at 7 o'clock. Before that, we're talking area high school football. And we're going to talk some NECC football with Coach Alyx Brandewie of the Eastside Blazers. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Coach. Congratulations on win number 1 with the Blazers. It wasn't an easy assignment for you to go on the road at Woodland to open the season, but you guys were able to get it done, a 30-20 victory. Take me through it in getting it done.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. So we knew going in last Friday night that Woodland had some athletes that can really play, and if you give those kids some space to make a play, they're not going to miss those opportunities. And we found that out on the opening kickoff, and they took it back to the house. And one of my assistants kind of kept the mood where it needed to be, and he walked past me and said, "Pretty sure that's not how you wanted your first play at Eastside to go, was it?" And I said, no, not exactly. But huge credit to our guys, to our kids. They responded all night long. We had the kickoff return, and then we threw an interception that got returned for a touchdown right before the half. And they just kept responding to any time there was a challenge or adversity. We committed some penalties, and then on top of those other 2 big mistakes, some things that we got to get cleaned up. But all in all, I was really pleased with the physicality and the way we were able to kind of control the tempo of the game running the football.
Coming in as a first-year coach and taking over for Coach Todd Mason, when you kind of approach it as a new coach and new program, but an established program, do you try to come in and you're like, I'm gonna put my stamp on it, but I don't want to change too much. I don't want to change the atmosphere around here, because sometimes you take over a program and you're really building it up from scratch. You're trying to lay the foundation, right? But you're taking over an established program. How does that change your mindset?
Yeah, it's been a thing that since the minute I got hired and from the first time I met with the kids here and met with our players, It's been, hey, I want to be additive. I want it to continue to build the thing that's already been built here or being built here. Coach Mason and his staff did a fantastic job for the last 6 or 7 years of laying a fantastic foundation and making some deep tournament runs. And I just told him, I said, listen, I'm not here to fundamentally change what Eastside football is or how it operates or what it looks like. I want to kind of make an impact how I can. It's the same mindset our guys approach everything with. You know, we talk on Thursdays before we have our team meal about making sure that you're doing your part, whatever your part is, whatever your role is. And right now, my role is as the head coach at Eastside, and so I'm trying to make sure that I'm making an impact in whatever ways that I can.
Coach, when you look at offensively, and it's been powered for the last couple of years by that offensive line, and Dane Siebert, one of the best around, and it really has started there for Eastside over the last couple of years, and you've been able to continue that this season and really being able to build around it because you do have some youth in other areas offensively.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we start 3 seniors up front, and so we kind of know that's where our experience lies. Yes, it's a senior quarterback, but he's a first-year starter as a senior, Wyatt Davis. So he's done a fantastic job. But you're right. Other than that, you know, we got a sophomore running back. We got juniors and sophomores playing wide receiver, a sophomore playing tight end. So there is some youth around that, and so you kind of lean on your experience and lean on your guys that have been in those big time moments, those big time games that know what it takes to grind out a couple first downs to put a game away. And to be honest with you, it fits pretty well in with what I want to do anyway. I mean, I believe in running the football, and so from a philosophy standpoint, it kind of fits like a hand in a glove.
Coach, defensively, you rely on a fair amount of juniors on that side that may be older but don't necessarily have the experience on that side of the ball either.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bunch of young kids on that side of the ball as well. And the biggest thing for us going into week 1 was I just needed them to get game experience playing together and communicating. And it was the biggest focus for us going into last week was making sure that we are communicating both across in the box and in the secondary and making sure everybody gets lined up correctly. And we got some guys that are really stepping up in that regard. E.J. Miller's a junior safety that has taken on a much more vocal role in our defense. And so it's been great to see guys like that are juniors and sophomores kind of step up and be the more vocal components of our defense, making sure that we're aligned correctly, we understand our assignments, and then when the ball snaps, let's go play fast and hit.
Coach, so much is made about players adjusting to a new coach. How has a new coach had to adjust to a new program?
It's been great, to be honest with you. I mean, I kind of it's been one of those things where this is who I am and this is how I am, and the biggest part for me is building relationships with our guys, getting to know who they are, getting to know a little bit about them, and making sure that we are pulling in the same direction. So, yeah, there's definitely been some adjustments and some transition, both from a relationship building standpoint and even just an X's and O's terminology standpoint. You know, it's not fundamentally different, but the way something was called previously for them, it sounds a little different. So the biggest part of that starts with getting to know the kids, building relationships, and starting to establish a little bit of trust. And I know we're still early in this thing, but I think we're heading in the right direction. And with that young core that you referenced, I think, whether it looks great every time out or doesn't always look as good as we want it to, I know the work those guys are putting in Monday through Thursday. I know they're watching film. I know they're in the scouting report. I know they're doing all the right things that are going to lead us to have some opportunities to be successful, whether it's every Friday night or as they continue to grow and develop.
Coach Alyx Brandewie of the Eastside Blazers joining us, and formerly the coach of Manchester. Coach, is it too easy to just say rural kids are rural kids? So the kids you coach at Manchester, same type of kids at Eastside. Is that too simple?
I think there are some similarities and there are some differences, no doubt. And that's not to say one is necessarily better than the other. It's just a different situation. It is probably the best way I can put it. But there are definitely some similarities going from one rural community to another. Myself, I grew up in a small rural community in west central Ohio, so it's kind of what I've been familiar with and comfortable with for most of my life. And I think as a result of that, I'm kind of drawn to those groups. I'm drawn to that kind of an environment. It's been a good fit for me, and I'm very fortunate here at Eastside that these kids have responded to everything I've ever asked them to do. They work their tails off. They lift all year around. It's just Eastside football matters an awful lot to them, and I feel very grateful to have the opportunity to be the head coach here.
Kicked off the season with a dub. Now you get Adams Central coming in. This has been a really good matchup the last several years. In week 2, it's gone back and forth. Eastside fell on the road at Monroe last year, but before that, it was a 2-point win. Before that, a couple touchdown win, then an Adams Central win before that. This has really gone both ways, and the teams are familiar with each other. You're new to it, but what have you seen from Adams Central, and what's this game going to come down to?
Yeah, it's an exciting week 2 matchup. I can't wait for tomorrow night. I'm super excited. I know our guys are as well. When you watch Adams Central on film, the things that kind of come across to me is that those kids are extremely well coached and disciplined. They play with that discipline, and then the physicality and comfort in doing what they do. They do it really, really well. And whether that's the guys up front, I know the Worm kid didn't play last week. Fully expect to see him tomorrow night. But it almost seems like no matter who's in there, whether it's up front or in the backfield or in the secondary or wherever you might look, those kids have such a firm belief in what they're asked to do or what they're coached to do that they execute extremely well. And you combine that with the fact that they got some darn good football players on top of it, and it's quite a formidable opponent. There's no doubt about that. But we've been telling our kids all week that it's a fantastic opportunity for us, early in the season to prepare for somebody at that level. Because at some point, if you're going to make any kind of run in the tournament whatsoever, you're going to have to play somebody that's pretty darn good. And that's out there, and that's down the road. So we feel very fortunate to have an opportunity to prepare for that kind of opponent in week 2 because they are a very, very good football team, and we're really excited for the challenge tomorrow night.
And, Coach, this first portion of the schedule really lays well out for those goals of postseason. Woodland is a very solid team. Then you get Adams Central this week. You got West Noble coming in that may be the most complete team in the entirety of the NECC. Then you have to go to Cherubusco. I know they're young, but it's never easy to go to Turtletown. So this first month of the season, even the first 3 weeks before you get into division play, you're going to find out a lot about your squad.
Yeah, that's the best part is we're going to learn. That's exactly what we keep saying as a coaching staff is, we are going to learn a ton about who we are, about who fits where, who can do what, who fits that role, this role, and the other role, because we are going to have several weeks in a row here coming out the gate where we're going to have to play a good football game. We had to play a good football game last week against Woodland to have success. Same thing this week and again the following week. And it's for us starting as many sophomores and juniors as you mentioned earlier. It's fantastic for us to help us develop an identity, kind of figure out who we are and where we stand so early in the year.
And no kickoff returns for touchdowns tomorrow night, right? The home start will be better than the road start.
You're not kidding. I was glad Coach Bro said something because that's about as nervous or fired up as I've ever been on a sideline because you just never want it to start like that in week 1 anyway. But week 1, game 1 at Eastside was definitely not the start I was looking for. So if we can limit that tomorrow night, that would be fantastic for my blood pressure.
All right, buddy. Hey, congratulations on win number 1 with the Blazers, and good luck tomorrow night against AC.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That was Coach Alyx Brandewie of the Eastside Blazers joining us here talking Eastside 1-0 after the 30-20 win over Woodland last week. Another team that's 1-0, fresh off a dub in week 1, a shutout win over Belmont on the road, the Heritage Patriots. Head coach Casey Kolkman to join us after the break to talk some Pats football here on the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Fieldhouse here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Many of you are aware of Hoopie Insurance Services loyalty and support for local sports and youth leagues. But did you realize the Hoopie commitment to sports includes a turfed indoor practice facility? Tucked away off Stellhorn Road between Maple Crest and Laymeyer is the Hoopie Fieldhouse, a great facility for indoor practices when Mother Nature is having a bad day. With 6,500 square feet of artificial surface, it's perfect for baseball, softball, soccer, and football. For a team, a league, or even a small group, the Hoopie Fieldhouse is available at just $50 an hour. Pitching, fielding, hitting. And it's the ideal spot when you can't take a chance on the weather, like tryouts or pregame prep. Youth football, little leagues, youth soccer. The Hoopie Fieldhouse can be your indoor practice home. Join now at just $50 an hour and get your times booked before it's too late. The Hoopie Fieldhouse, owned and managed by Hoopie Insurance Services. Get info and book times at HoopieFieldhouse.com. That's Hoopie, H-U-P-E, Fieldhouse.com.
Do you know what makes you so special, you're unique. Your personality, style, and your likes and dislikes. That's why Blade Man's Knife Shop is your inventory to connect you with the knife that will seem like it was custom made just for you.
Hi, this is Mark, the owner of Blade Man's Knife Shop, and I'd like to personally invite you out to the store to see the area's best selection of quality knives. We have Benchmade, Spyderco, Microtech, ProTech, Hogue, Zero Tolerance, Medford Knife and Tool, ADV Tactical, Tour Knives, and many more. We also have a great selection of custom knives. Prefer to shop online? Check out our great selection on BladeMansKnifeShop.com. We pride ourselves on fast shipping, so check us out on BladeMansKnifeShop.com or stop by the store in the shops at Scout Road and have a cup of coffee on me.
Be in the know and follow Blade Man's on Facebook and Instagram today. And Blade Man's offers a 10% discount for police and military. Check out the collection of Shun knives, the finest in kitchen cutlery. Plus, get in-store services including blade sharpening. Blade Man's Knife Shop on Illinois Road in the shops of Scott Road.
We know to contact Indiana 811 at least 2 working days before every dig. But did you know spraying a white line around your digging area means utility flags will be placed only in that area? Fewer flags in the yard? Easier mowing? Everybody wins.
Except for my kid.
I don't want to mow the yard.
Contact Indiana 811 and white line before every project. It's the only way to dig. Learn more at 811.safedigindiana.com.
Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission and aired by this station.
I can't think of any way to improve upon the service that I receive.
Gibson's Heating and Plumbing is your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer that is ranked #1 out of nearly 300 dealers nationwide in customer satisfaction. Here's what Gibson's customers are saying.
The office is always courteous. Gibson's service tech is exceptional in his attitude and performance, and is friendly and efficient as he follows up, explains what he's done that day and what needs to be done if there's going to be a follow-up. Kudos to Gibson's for their outstanding service.
Your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Gibson'sHeating.com.
You're listening to the Hoopy Fieldhouse High School Coaches Show on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show. My name is Justin Kenny. We're here till 7 o'clock. Talking high school football will give way to Colts football. Preseason football game number 3. It'll cap the preseason for the Colts and the Eagles, as Anthony Richardson gets the start tonight against Philly. How long does he play? A series, 2 series, a quarter, 2 quarters? We'll see what the Colts have in store, but you can listen to all the action here at the top of the hour, 7 o'clock. Between then and now, we're talking area high school football and talk some AC football with our buddy Casey Kolkman, head coach of the Heritage Patriots. Coach, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, Justin. How are you guys?
Not bad. You had a team dinner tonight. How was the spread?
Well, we're still here. The boys are eating, so I slipped away to help you out, you know. So
Lord knows I need it. Coach, recap, you went to Belmont last week and took care of business. Kobe Meyer had a hell of a night, and I expect we'll see more of those this year out of him. But just a dominant performance from your guys in week 1.
Well, yeah, I hope so. I hope we can continue to do that with Kobe. And, you know, he's a dynamic player and a great kid and, you know, great leader on our team. So, you know, the thing now is obviously, and, you know, we knew coming in people are going to have a bit of a target on him. And, you know, the better he does, the bigger the target's going to get. So, you know, he's aware of that, and so are we. But, you know, Belmont was feisty. You know, they came out and played hard. They were really good up front. And, you know, it took us a minute to kind of get things going. You know, I think it was 14-0 at half. And, you know, halftime we made a few adjustments and, you know, dug in a little bit and then started to pull away. So, yeah, we were pleased with that. You know, the bigger thing is everyone wants to talk about Kobe, but defensively, you know, we were extremely pleased with how that unit played. I think Belmont had under 150 yards total offense and obviously didn't score. So, you know, anytime you can pitch shutout, it's impossible to lose. So your offense doesn't have to be great if the other team doesn't score.
And, Coach, when you look at that defensive performance, and you really can't judge your defense to get them in game action in the regular season, did they live up to your expectations? Did you come into this game thinking this was a performance they could put together, or did you really notice some things that stood out for you?
Yeah, you know, over the summer, the way they performed, we scrimmaged, you know, bigger schools usually in the summertime intentionally, and we performed well against them, better than we had in the past. And, you know, the scrimmage against Lures, our defense held. At least our first unit did a really good job against Lures' first unit. So, you know, there was the signs that we could be really good, you know, and then, but like you said, until you're really in it, you're not sure. And, that style of offense can always be tricky. They were double tight, double wing, and so now we're getting Fairfield, and we're going to see similar, not same, but similar type things. So yeah, we're excited about the unit, the defensive unit.
Yeah, how much does that help? At least seeing that misdirection type style in week one, getting ready for Coach Thacker's Fairfield team.
Yeah, it's the outflank stuff. It's the inside sweep, the rocket toss, and then the counter back, and then it's the with Fairfield. Then they run some veer out of it too, some triple options. So the offense forces you to be disciplined. And so you can have a really good, talented defense and still get gashed pretty good if you don't play discipline. So, that's why going from Belmont to Fairfield we feel is a good step for us. Especially Fairfield does some things that are similar to future opponents. So we're just in their quality program. Coach Thacker does a good job, and they were 9-0 a couple years back, and they got a very strong group again this year. They're big up front. They got some speed. They got a hammer of a fullback. So it's going to be a good challenge. We're excited, but they're coming to us. We get to open the home field this year, and so it should be fun. It should be a good environment tomorrow night.
Coach, looking at that defense, there's a lot of kids that have been around now for multiple seasons and seniors that are now used to you for multiple years. And how much has that helped? Because for a long time we looked at Heritage and said, okay, well, they got a really good linebacker, but everybody else is young. Well, those young guys are now seniors for you, and they showed out at least in week one.
Yeah, that's, and the cool thing is you look up front, and almost all of those defensive linemen that Coach Havish coaches, they all throw for him in the spring on the track team. So Coach Havish has spent more than just football seasons with those kids. He's also spent track seasons with them. So just the bond between those young men and Coach Havish is just phenomenal. And for us, that's where everything starts, is up front. So you take guys like Logan Teichman and Charlie Riddle and Brandon Boyle and Parker Hennessy and Carson Lowe and, just the list of kids that we work up front on the defensive side, and the experience they have, not just with us, but just with Coach in various roles. And then, like you said, Caleb Abbott at linebacker and Colvin Gilbert at outside, and Landon Hicks has been a 3-year starter at safety, and so yeah, nothing can replace experience, especially when it's a high school kid, and they're in their their 20th game, their 30th game, and they've seen some things and they've learned from them and they're better for it. So yeah, we're very excited about that fact too, that we do have some older guys that understand what it's going to take and what they need to do. So 100%.
Coach Casey Kolkman, Heritage Patriots, joining us here on the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Fieldhouse. Coach, I was talking to Sherwood Haydock before the season started, and he's also in year 4. You're in year 4. And he said, man, this is the first year I really feel like this is my team from top to bottom, and these guys are used to me. What kind of philosophy do you take? Is it your team from the jump, year 1? I'm sure pieces of it do, but when does it really feel top to bottom? Everybody knows what to expect, and you know what to expect from them. When does that hit? Because you've had these different places you've been where it's taken a couple years to get going. But when does it truly feel like, hey, this is my squad?
Yeah, I mean, Sherwood's been in similar positions that I've been in, and he's been much more successful, So I think he's dead on. And, the first year you come in and you just have to snatch the reins by force. And you just have to. You have to scoop everything up, and you have to be the guy, And if anybody knows Sherwood, he has no problem doing that. Neither do I. And that's okay for a year. But at some point, and it's usually the second year that transition has to occur, and that can be a very difficult and tedious and just it's a hard process because the transition has to come not just from me to the kids, but from me to the assistant coaches. And everybody in the program now, they start to take ownership and they start to buy in a little more and believe a little more. And then you don't have to be the guy so much anymore, And so now in year 4, not only are we with these seniors that have been with us since day 1, but now I have 3 coordinators, Excuse me. I have an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator who both played at Heritage for Coach Yeager, just like I did. I have a special teams coordinator who's does an outstanding job, who's been with us for 3 years now. And so, I can be a head coach. And it's a new experience for me. But the point is now we're in the situation where everybody has a stake in the franchise. It's not just my franchise. And when that happens, it's usually year 3 or 4. Coach is right. When that happens, then you really got something. And so I think what he means by saying, I feel like it's my team, it's because now they are all fully on board with everything that you have tried to roll out over the past 2 or 3 years. To add to that, though, I think the parts that people miss are the first couple of years, I mean, it's laborious, man. And it's tough. It's so tough. And so we're extremely proud of the kids that have stuck around. The kids that came in year 1, and we took our lumps 4 years ago. We went 2-6 and had a couple games canceled because of COVID, and we've just slowly gotten better every year. And this team it's the best team we've coached. Now, hopefully that translates into wins, but they're still the best team we've coached to date, and so we're proud of where they are regardless of what happens.
Coach, kind of leads into my next question, because I imagine the most important thing when building a program, you can't cut corners. You can't give into a head case or this just because he's really good. You have to lay that foundation. You can't, if I run this offense this year, we'll probably be a lot better, but I want to do this long term, and you sacrifice that. How important is it not to cut those corners, to stick to the plan over multiple years, even when you have maybe some small losses and have some attrition with players and coaches? And how important is it to stick to your guns?
Right. I think as important as that is to sticking to your guns is make sure you have the right guns.
Yeah.
Make sure you're doing the right things, because if you come in and try to lay down the law and there's things that the kids haven't fully understood or bought into yet, they're going to walk away. And you can stand there and be Mr. Tough Guy and lay down the law, but then pretty soon you're standing in a weight room with 6 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you do? So it takes a certain, a little bit of craftiness, a little bit of, tact, some, you got to do some talking, and you got to talk to some parents, and you got to, you just got to do those things to just convince people to be a part of, because at the end of the day, why should they trust you? Why should they trust you with their son? You're just another coach coming along. What's so great about you? What's going to be the benefit? So you have to prove that to them over those first few years. And if you do that correctly, most parents understand, they want to win and they want their kids to be successful, but they understand that those boys are going to be a part of life a lot longer than they're going to be a part of football. And so if you can prove that you're doing things that are bigger than football, then I think you got them. And you get the community and you get the families in, and then you start winning a few games, and then, oh boy, look out, right? And that's what, to go back to Sherwood, that's what he's been able to do the places he's been. He established the program, and then they were able to win some games, and next thing you know, Harding's going to state and Woodland's going to state, and there's something to that, And it's not just Sherwood Haydock, it's something to there's a method to the madness, right? So, yeah, no doubt.
And I have to imagine last year was that year where, hey, you start winning games and people start noticing. You beat South Adams. You go to Bluffton and beat the Tigers. That team won a sectional championship. So when you've done that last year, now you can build on that this year. You're looking at a schedule that goes Fairfield, Woodland, South Adams, Adams Central, LaPel, Bluffton, and you say, okay, now's the time. We got our week 1 game out. Now it's really, we have to start hammering it, because the early part of your ACAC schedule is absolutely loaded.
Right. And some of those things can be very tenuous. The lapel, we had already lost one of our captains the Woodland game week 3. And then we beat South Adams, which is gigantic, simply because of the success they've had, and going to state. People don't understand how rare that is. Even at a place like Snider, I mean, it's just a hard thing to do, and to do it, to have 2 teams in our conference, we go to state in the last couple of years is impressive. So, to get that win was huge. To come back and get it was huge. And then week 6, we go down to LaPel, a very good 2A team, and we lose 2 more starters to season ending. 1 a captain, 1 a lineman, 1 a linebacker. So we're now going into Bluffton. We were down 4 starters that had played all season, and they jumped on us early. I think it was 20-0. I think it was 27 at half, and it was just one of those deals where, hey, is this how it's going to be, guys? You know, I'm still going to love you. But is this what you want? Is this how it's going to be? And they made the decision. I'd love to say coaches and how it's going to be. And second half took care of itself. And, you know, we won out the rest of the year. And then sectional game, played the best we'd played against Norwell since I've been at Heritage. We still lost, but made some strides in that area as well. So, yeah, there's some critical moments, though, along the way that if they go your way, you can really gain some traction and get going.
Coach, final question before we let you go. You've been in the ACAC now for over a decade now, Bluffton and Heritage. Is it more fun to watch the SAC not having to be a part of it, not having to deal with everything you got to deal with in the SAC?
Well, I mean, you know, it's just football's football, first of all, and there's differences to everything. You know, the hardest part of being the ACAC is some of the offenses you got to try and stop.
Sure.
I mean, nobody runs the wing T in the city, and then we got to line up and try and stop Adams Central's wing T, you know, with Bloom at fullback or Hirely or some other kid down there that's going to run over you. I mean, you know, and that's not an easy thing, and not like it's easy to stop Carroll's spread or Snider's offense either, but it's a different hard, right?
Right.
And then so it's just a different style. It really makes you, it really stretches you. You know, you don't have some of the speed that you have in the city, you know, but then every now and then you do, and you got to figure that out,
right?
You know, and so it's a different scenery, but it's the same problems. You know, it's the same deal. And the cool thing about, like I said, the ACAC now, I think, in my opinion, and I'll have to say I'm biased, but it's a very competitive conference now.
Yeah.
I mean, just look back to week 1. I think Woodland was the only team that lost, and they lost to a really good Eastside team, 30-20.
Right.
Right? I think everybody else in the conference won last week.
They did.
Southern Wells won, you know, with their new head coach, you know. So, I mean, it's going to be a deal now. I mean, the ACAC, for a team that wins the ACAC is going to be ready. And I think even 3, 4, 5 teams in the conference will be ready for a strong tournament run just because of the competition we have in our conference now.
All right, buddy, we kept you from the food too long. Appreciate the time, man.
Kidding.
Good luck tomorrow against Fairfield, buddy.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, take care.
You too. That was Coach Casey Kolkman of the Heritage Patriots joining us here. We're going to take a break, come back. Coach Kurt Tippmann, Snider Panthers, will join us. His team heading up to Kendallville tomorrow to take on the East Noble Knights. We'll break down the Panthers week 1 and also look ahead to tomorrow evening when we come back here on the High School Coaches Show presented by Hoopie Fieldhouse here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
Many of you are aware of Hoopie Insurance Services loyalty and support for local sports and youth leagues. But did you realize the Hoopie commitment to sports includes a turfed indoor practice facility? Tucked away off Stellhorn Road between Maple Crest and Laymeyer is the Hoopie Fieldhouse, a great facility for indoor practices when Mother Nature is having a bad day. With 6,500 square feet of artificial surface, it's perfect for baseball, softball, soccer, and football. For a team, a league, or even a small group, the Hoopie Fieldhouse is available at just $50 an hour. Pitching, fielding, hitting. And it's the ideal spot when you can't take a chance on the weather, like tryouts or pregame prep. Youth football, little leagues, youth soccer. The Hoopie Fieldhouse can be your indoor practice home. Join now at just $50 an hour and get your times booked before it's too late. The Hoopie Fieldhouse, owned and managed by Hoopie Insurance Services. Get info and book times at HoopieFieldhouse.com. That's Hoopie, H-U-P-E, Fieldhouse.com.
Over the past few years, the COVID-19 pandemic has affected how we live our daily lives.
Today, 1 in 5 Americans experience emotional and mental health challenges, but many of us do not understand what we are facing or how to ask for help.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, we work every day to eliminate stigma, combat mental illness and substance use disorders, and advance mental health.
If you or someone you love needs help, you are not alone. Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
I expected it to be a lot easier.
I thought it was going to be a piece of cake. I didn't know what step to take next.
I was transitioning from the military. I was a vehicle gunner.
An avionics specialist.
I was an MP, military police.
My friends thought I could do anything.
I missed my unit, my family.
Playing with my daughter, I felt like a stranger.
I was overwhelmed.
I couldn't sleep.
I just wanted to be by myself.
I didn't have a clear sense of what to do next.
I was too proud. And then I thought, if I'm going through this, other veterans have gone through it too, right?
I started to open up.
And it made a huge difference.
So I reached out, and I saw that I wasn't alone.
Because before I was able to take on my next mission, I had to take on just taking care of myself.
To find purpose.
Go to maketheconnection.net to learn how other veterans have overcome the challenges of transitioning out of the military.
Welcome back to the Hoopie Fieldhouse High School Coaches Show on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back, everybody, to the High School Coaches Show. I'm Justin Kenny here. For about 10 more minutes, we'll give way to Colts-Eagles final preseason game for both. Anthony Richardson gets the start for the Colts tonight. Do we see him for a series, 2 series, a quarter, a half? We'll have to find out as the Colts battle Philly this evening. Coverage beginning here in about 10 minutes or so. Tomorrow night here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. It is the game of the week. Carroll Chargers hosting the Warren Central Warriors, a team very familiar, with Warren Central, are the Snider Panthers, who went down to Warren last week, got a 42-20 win. Head coach of the Panthers, Mr. Kurt Tippmann. Coach, good evening.
Good evening, Justin. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, Coach. And I can imagine you on the bus ride home last week, just beaming, saying this is exactly what we were looking for with non-conference games. And by gosh, you guys went down there and got a big dub against a perennial power.
Well, if I were to say that we expected that to happen, I'd be lying. We just played really well for game one and played very physical. And, things worked out really, really well. And I think anytime you play game one and you have so many of those questions about your team, you don't know, new guys, how they're going to respond to the first time being in a Friday night fray. And you don't know the character of your team. Like when you get down by 8 points in the beginning of the first quarter, really nothing went right in the first quarter. How are they going to respond to those kinds of situations? And, our guys answered that question pretty affirmatively and, showed that they have character, showed that they would fight back, showed that they could play tough, and then execute at a somewhat high level to be able to, withstand a really good Warren Central team.
Coach, going into the season, is one of the questions traditionally not knowing how physical your team is going to be able to play, or is that something going into the season okay, I know our guys are tough and they're going to be physical and answer the bell when they're challenged, or is that an unknown entering each season for you?
I think it's unknown, especially with new guys in the lineup. There's just no way to simulate some of that physicality until they get into that situation against a physical opponent. We like to think that we do things that demonstrate toughness, but sometimes that's a lot of mental toughness. But when you crash into somebody 60 times in a game, your will sometimes gets questioned on whether or not you want to do that 61 and 62 and 63 times. And so we knew it would be that kind of game against Warren Central. They're a physical team. They like to run the ball. They weren't going to play flag football and chuck it all over the park. I mean, it was going to be in the trenches. They had 4 guys returning on the offensive line that started for them last year, and 4 really talented defensive linemen, 3 of which that played for them last year. So they had a lot of returning experience, and we just knew it would be a physical game. So we'd like to think that we know the toughness of guys, but the physical part of it is something that I think still have questions as you enter into the actual game season.
Did you get all the answers you wanted to in that respect out of this one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that we're not on the defensive front. We're not real big, and so our worry is not just because of lack of toughness or want to be physical. And sometimes you just get overwhelmed by size and ability of the opposing offensive line. And, we run into that at times where, just the size and the girth of an offensive lineman is just can't combat it with a 190-pound defensive lineman or a guy that's faster. We want to play with speed on the defensive front, and so you're always worried about just getting physically, road graded per se. Offensive line, we're big and physical. We faced that all summer, so I think that's something that helped prepare us for something like what we saw in Game 1. But I think we answered the question, and more so the kids, that some of the scheme we employ is meant to combat some of that physicality and some of that mindset of the offense just going to line up and grind out 3 or 4 yards. They proved to themselves that the scheme, is part of the answer to that equation.
Coach, I thought 2 guys that stood out from highlights that I saw defensively, Landon Fry at linebacker and Anthony Hernandez kind of on the edge. Maybe 2 guys that people aren't really familiar with, but I thought that those guys, particularly along that front 7, were just exceptional for you.
Definitely, and Anthony to begin with. Warren Central from the shotgun employs kind of a triple option from the gun and do a lot of reading of the defensive end. So they put Anthony in a lot of those decision-making conflicts. And, what he did a really good job was being disciplined in his responsibility so that he could kind of play 2 parts of the option. And he did it really, really well and allowed him to be in that tackling position quite a bit. And I think, maybe 7 or 8 tackles on the night really was a key part in defending their option. And then Landon, a guy that played a lot for us last year. He's a big, physical, very talented guy, and a lot of people focus on Lucas. But Landon's, very capable as well, and he's a big physical guy too. So, he led us in tackles, and those guys on the edge and then up the middle really did a good job in stopping their option game.
Coach Kurt Tippmann, Snider Panthers, joining us here in the High School Coaches Show. Coach, how would you grade out Kieran Billingsley's first start behind center?
Exciting, dynamic. He's a smooth operator, and we've always known that he has the ability to make plays. But what's impressed me more this August and as we've prepared this summer is his leadership and his kind of command of the offense, and just taken over and made it kind of his own through the course of these practices leading up to this game. And he is very comfortable running the show, very comfortable with the spotlight on him, very comfortable with the ball in his hands, executing the offense. And what he did Friday, he made the routine plays. He threw it, probably better than what he thought he would. Made some really nice throws, but really we were under pressure all night. Their edge guys are phenomenal players. And we didn't have much time to throw the ball at all. But what he could do is extend some plays. And you saw 3 plays that 2 of them turned into touchdowns. One was for a big first down that, he makes something out of nothing. And, really special plays that had a huge impact on the outcome of the game. He just has the ability to do some of the things on his own and, ad lib per se, and make some special things happen. And he's going to be exciting to watch. He'll get better at protecting the ball because we had some turnovers. But, with some of the risks that he takes, the outcomes on the other end are some pretty amazing plays and really talented guy running the offense.
Coach, before we let you go, you got a big win on the road last week. What's the message heading into tomorrow night for another big one up in Kendallville?
Road warriors. We opened the season with 3 road games. Never done that in the history of Snider football. So that's been kind of our preaching all summer is, we got to be tough right at the beginning because we're on the road for 3 straight weeks. Great atmosphere last week, and then another great atmosphere this Friday night. One of the really good programs in Northeast Indiana and East Noble, and Coach Hamstutz and their staff have always done a good job. We've always kind of admired them a little bit. We like to think we have similar philosophies. We've practiced together a couple times in the summer over the last 7 or 8 years and got to know them a little bit and their program. And so, I think they're similar in a lot of ways and some of the values about football that they preach, and the ways of running offense and defense. And, we've actually exchanged some ideas, defensively and, kind of collaborate with each other. But Great program, very consistent, always one of the top teams in that conference, made long playoff runs. And, I think it'll be an exciting night, be a huge crowd, not too far. Indianapolis is 2 hours, but, Kendallville.
Podcasts by Federated Media.